Hello, happy Tuesday. I am doing a wood bead tassel slash garland today. So I'm just trying to get live on this other device here. Hold on one second. We'll go live there if you can, or if you're watching, say hi. Let me know what you're doing today. Where are you watching from? Hello, Cara. How are you? Okay, let me flip my camera. Mirror. There we go. And I wish that was an easier button to do, but it is what it is. So, happy Tuesday. Glad to hear, Cara. All right. So I have been meaning to go live and decorate a tier tray with you just to show you my tips and tricks. And I was going to do that, but then I was like, I need a beaded garland to go on here. So we're going to start with that. And then I promise I will show you a tier tray decor tips and tricks video tomorrow. That is scheduled. I have it written down. I'm not going to forget. Hopefully I don't get busy and I can do that. So, all right. So I am going to make a painted beaded garland with a tassel on one end and a fun little shamrock on the other. So this is going to go with, this is something you would do with the tier tray sets. So all of our tiered tray sets come with one piece that has a little hole in it, and you could just attach this to a string or a ribbon and tie it around a vase or a jar, and that would be super cute. Or you can get yourself some wood beads and make a beaded garland and have a tassel on the other side. And so I'm going to make a beaded garland for this little guy. It's not going to be a super long one. I've got 12 beads here. So the length of this basket, I'm going to paint them with the greens that I've used in my tiered tray. I should bring that over. I will here in just a minute. And then I'm going to make a tassel on the other side. And I'm going to make a tassel that kind of correlates with this pretty ribbon on the shaker that my daughter made last week. So this is a kit, and it's just a fun little shaker craft that is super cute and super fun to make. So that is on our website as well, but I'm gonna make a tassel possibly with some of this to match it, because I like making coordinated decor pieces, and I think that is really just the fun of crafting and being creative. And doing these things, not only is it fun and, you know, being in that creative zone is super healing, but it also allows us to make some pretty cool decor pieces that all match and all look great together and things like that. And we get to choose the paint and all of that. And when you buy something online or at a store, you're kind of left with those choices, but make it yourself. You can do whatever you want. So let's see, let me try and get over here so I can see comments on TikTok. So I'm live on Facebook and TikTok. Make sure to say hi when you hop in, and hopefully I'll be able to see your comments. Hi Terry, how are you? Okay, so I've got the spring green, which is what this color is, and then we've used the new shamrock color on the other pieces of our St. Patrick's Day kits. And so I'm going to use those two colors and a white. And I've got 12 beads, so I'll do each color, use each color with 4 beads. Right, is my math right there? So there's a couple different ways that you can paint beads. You can hand paint them with a brush, and that works. If you do it that way, I do recommend getting like a skewer. This is just a cooking skewer. They come in huge packs, and typically these wood beads will just slide right on. And then, you know, you could just tape it to something like this, and then use a brush and paint it that way. And that way will give you the brightest color, the most vibrant color, because then you're able to put a couple coats on and really get the paint on there. I am going to use the baggie method. So I'm going to throw some paint in a baggie. I'm going to throw my beads in there, and then I'll just squish it all around and do it that way, and then I'll pull them out to dry. The other third method that I've seen done is with a bowl. And so you get a bowl for each color, or like a plastic cup, a disposable cup, or a paper bowls work great. And then you squirt the paint in there, and maybe add a little bit of water to help the paint flow a little bit better. But I'm going to use the baggie method because this is what I have on hand. And so I'm just going to get some paint in here. And I only have 4 beads to paint, so I am not putting too much paint in there. I usually just put a small little dollop of paint in there and then see how it goes. And I've added my 4 beads, and so now I'm just going to push them around in this paint and move them around. Now some beads I found that I've ordered have a finish on them. These ones not so much, but if they're shiny and they feel super smooth, then they almost have a finish on them, and they're really hard to paint. They don't take the paint very well. So if you're buying them in the store, you'll be able to notice that, but when you buy them like on Amazon, that's really hard to do and can be kind of frustrating. So what I found is if they're shiny and have that kind of finish on them, it's like a waxy finish, you kind of have to sand them and rough them up a little bit, and then try it that way. Okay. So you can see, you can't even see the beads. Now I'm going to open them up and keep my bag open here. I'm going to take my skewer, and I'm just going to go fishing for my beads and get them on the skewer so that they'll dry faster. I don't want them just sitting in this paint. And I like putting them on the skewer to dry as opposed to, let's say, just a paper plate, which works. But then they sit on the paper plate, and wherever they're sitting, that paint comes off. And then it's not a very good finish all the way around. Okay, so I've got these ones here. I'm just going to grab another brush here and scoot them apart. Try and keep my fingers clean. But see how great that looks? And they're going to let these dry, and we'll do the next color. I'll just set them right there. And then this is disposable, so I can just toss this, easy cleanup. All right. Let me push this aside now. And I grabbed some other skewers. Where did I put my, I know I grabbed a bag of them. Oh, here they are. I'll get 2 more out. So these are the skewers that I have. They're just the wood cooking skewers you can get at any grocery store. I think I got 100 of them for, I might have even got these at the, no, I didn't think I got these at the dollar store. I think I got these just at my local grocery store, and I cannot remember how much they are because I've had them forever. I've had them for a long time, so unfortunately I can't give you the tips on the price on those. Oh, and by the way, these wood beads are the 20 milliliter, not milliliter, millimeter size beads, and I think those are really great size. I'll get the 16 every once in a while if I want something just a little bit smaller to mix in with the larger size beads, but these ones are a good size for these garlands. And this is also what I use with my banners. I'll put these little beads between my banner pieces. So we'll just move these little beads around in here for a few minutes. So as you join, say hi. Let me know what you're doing today. Thanks, Terry. If you're following or hopping on from TikTok, make sure to hit the follow button so you get notified when we go live with more tips and tricks on crafting and painting tutorials and all things creative. Okay. And then also, if you didn't see, on our Facebook page, we have our sample sale going on. So we have, we sell DIY wood kits that allow you to create the pieces just how you want. But before we list them, we always cut our designs and paint and assemble our designs to ensure that all the pieces, one, are going to fit together and that they go together easy. They're not a frustration, you know, those type of things. So a lot of times we will paint something. Sometimes we'll paint it even twice. You know, maybe we put it together and decided the design needs to change a little bit. And so we end up with quite a few products, sample products that are finished already. Oh, I went through the bag there. And so if you're interested in just purchasing something that you've seen a finished product from us, this is the time to do it. They are listed on our website. It's just a post, and you just comment on the picture of the item that you want, and we will get it shipped. Shipping is $8. It's a flat rate, so if you buy more than one item, there's a flat rate shipping of $8, and they're already made and ready to go, so we'll ship them right away as soon as the invoice is paid. So go check those out if you're looking for some finished items from our kits. Okay. We've already sold the St. Patrick's Day kit collection. Sometimes if it's a collection, we will just sell it all at once. Sometimes we sell them individually, but the St. Patrick's Day, we had the sign, the banner, and the tiered tray, and the shaker all together, and it has already sold. And it's a fun kit to do. But we have the kit, so there are the kits available for you to DIY your own. All right. So we did the sample sale just right on our Facebook page, but next month we're going to do the sample sale in our Crafty Living group and make it exclusive to members of that group. And that group is also going to have exclusive first access to our kits. The group will also have monthly coupons listed in there that are only going to be exclusive to that group. And it's also just a group that we can share our crafts with. If you get a kit from us and you want to share that group, you can share it in there. And any other crafts that you do. We'd love to see all your creative items you're making. And sometimes when we make things and we don't have anyone to share it with, it's frustrating because we're so proud of our items. We have to have an outlet to share and be encouraged and encourage others. So that's kind of what that group is about. So here's the white, and some of them look okay and some of them didn't take the paint as well. There's some areas that I might touch up later, but for the most part, that turned out good. And so we will let those dry, and we're gonna make the tassel that will be on the other side. So we've got the shamrock that's gonna be on one side of the beaded garland, and then the other side will be the tassel. So I'm gonna make that as well. And I'm gonna use some light colored jute. And I've got this pretty gold ribbon. And I might add some rainbow colored floss. Let's see, it looks like we've got some started from when we did the, I might just leave that in there. And see how it works out. Maybe some yellow. If I can find the end of this yellow, there it is. I think floss is very frustrating. It gets this happens, and then I'm just over it. I'm like, okay, I just can't. And I know that there's a way to start it and stop it and all of that so it stays semi-neat, and there's ways you can store floss, but it is on the very bottom of my list of things to organize. Okay, so I've just got a couple inches, maybe 12 inches of some of my colored floss going on here that I'm going to add to my tassel, the rainbow colors. So I'll set that aside for a second, and we'll start building the tassel. So depending on how big you want your tassel will determine what you use for your template. So typically I'll just use, I create small tassels. I'll use an old gift card, and so my tassel will be this long. But if you wanted something longer, you could just cut something out of like a cardstock or a piece of cardboard. And I'm trying to think if I have something semi nearby to facilitate that if we wanted to make something bigger. Let's see what I got. Oh, I know. I don't know if this is gonna be any bigger. It's a little bit bigger. So this is just a scrap piece of wood that I have for making little books for tiered trays. But it might be too wide. 1 second. I thought I had a piece of cardboard close by that we could use, but it's not looking like it. That's all right. We'll just make a small one. Okay, so I'm going to use this gift card as my template, and I'm going to get my thin jute that fits through the beads a little bit better. So this is what I'm going to use to bead my garland, or to thread my beads onto. And it's a little bit thinner than this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little bit of this off, or quite a bit. This is probably way too long for all of my beads, but I want to make sure it's long enough that I have enough to tie. And the reason why I'm getting this ready is because I'm going to hold this at the top of my card. So right about here. And then as I wrap my other jute around, it's going to lock this in. So when I get done, I have this to tie it off with. Okay, so I'm going to just hold that up there. You could tape it up there if it was hard to hold. But once I get this started, it pretty much holds itself. Okay, and so make sure that that's there. Then I'm gonna lay my first strand down, and I'm gonna hold it with my thumb. So I've got my jute that I'm tying off at the top, my jute that's gonna be my tassel, and I'm making sure that it's about the same length here. And you can trim it afterwards if it's a little bit long. Okay, and then I'm just gonna pull nice and tight and start wrapping my jute around my board here. So whatever you're using. Okay, and so now this is locked in up here. I don't have to hold it anymore, but this is what we're gonna tie, and then we'll string our beads too. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this a couple more times, making sure that that little strand stays out of my way. And I don't go all the way across because we're going to be bringing this together, and I want it to build up on top of each other, not go all the way across, because if I went all the way across this and then tried to cinch it together, it's going to have a funny look to it, and it's not going to lay right. So I go, let's maybe an inch across, and now I'm just going to start going back over those same pieces, making sure that that stays out of the way. Okay. All right, so now I've got about 2 layers of this white cream colored jute. And now I'm gonna add a little bit of this gold to it. I don't have much left, so I might as well just get it off the roll here. It's a little easier to work with. So now I'm gonna add another layer. I'm not cutting this. I'm going to leave this connected, and I'm going to work around it, because I'm going to come back and add a little bit more on top just to help get this kind of inside this whole tassel. So again, we're going to start that down here at the bottom, and we're just going to come around with that gold, lay it right on top of my cream, and I'm going to go about 3 times just to have a little hint of gold in my tassel. Okay, then I'm going to trim that and get it out of the way. So now I have that, and now I'm going to add a little bit of that color to it. Hello, K-Marks. I love your craft space. Thank you. Yes, it's been a journey. It used to be the kitchen table, and I've actually got my own little office now. But it has not always looked like this, for sure. All right, so I've got those pieces of embroidery that I had pulled out, and it's the color of the rainbow. So we're gonna add that in as well. And again, I'm gonna hold it down here at the bottom, and I'm going to wrap it around, pull my string out of the way, a couple times. We'll see how much I can get out before it starts to tangle up. I'm laying that right on the gold. See, I got 1, 2, let's see if I can get 3 out here. Pull those out. 1 more. Perfect. All right. Then I'll cut those bits off. So I wrapped the embroidery floss around 3 times. I wrapped the gold around 3 times. And now I'm going to finish it off by wrapping just a few more strands of this cream. And that's just going to help it look like all of these pieces of the tassel are kind of mixed in with each other, and gets it, doesn't look so dedicated to one space. We've got just this great mix of all of these colors and these textures. All right, so I've got just 3 or 4 more times. I don't want to get this too thick, so then we're going to just cut this off here. All right, so there's the start of my tassel. And now I'm going to tie this up here, this jute, and it might be easier to pull it off the card, whatever you're using, and it really kind of determines how thick you make your wrap, but I'm going to pull mine off just so I can get a nice tight knot at the top. So I'm kind of holding it here, and I'm just pulling on that jute a little bit to bring those strings, floss, and ribbon together. And then I'm going to tie this off. And the great thing about using jute is it's got a roughness, a rough texture to it, but it also stays knotted. So I can tug on that, and that little knot is going to stay super tight for quite a while, unless I, you know, play with it a little bit. So I'm going to pull that tight, and then I'll give it just one more knot. And there we go, pull it tight, and now we're good to go. Now the next step then is to cut our string and our jute and all of that. So I'm just going to take my scissors down the center of that and start cutting. Make sure we got them all. We got one left here. There we go. All right, so it looks pretty silly right now, right? It does not look like a really pretty tassel. But here is where we kind of comb it out, play with all of our bits and rearrange them if need be. Again, we don't want to have all the embroidery floss to one side and things like that. So I'm kind of just pulling and gently pulling it to the other side and separating it out a little bit so it looks a little more evenly distributed. Okay, all right. So now I'm going to hold it up here and kind of look and see how that looks. All right, good. Put the gold in there, and there we go. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this gold as my band, and this band is going to wrap around probably an inch from the top here. This is that little knob that we see on the tassel. And you could do this a couple different ways. You can glue it, you can tie it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this gold around, I'm going to tie it, and then I'm going to wrap it a couple times and then glue it over my knot so we don't see that. And sometimes you can kind of tuck that tail from the tie just right down into your tassel, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to pull it tight, and then I'm going to wrap it and a couple times, and then I'll get a dab of some hot glue and not just glue it off and then cut it. Grab my glue gun here. Okay. I'm going to cut this excess off so I can handle it just a little bit better. Okay. All right. And put a little dab of glue right there. And then I cut a little extra just so I could hold it and pull it tight while that glue sets up. And then I'll cut that excess off. But that way you don't, you know, melt your fingers trying to hold that little piece of ribbon in place. Oops, I go and touch it too soon. Okay, it's set up. So now I've just got this little flap right here. I'm going to try and cut it at an angle and as close as possible. There we go. And there we are. Now we've got our cute little tassel, and we can apply this, we can start stringing our beads. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to grab my long string here. Like I said, it's probably longer than I need. And we're going to grab our bead. And if you have a nice plastic needle like you would use for more of the bigger embroidery, those work really well. I'm just using an old paper clip that I've unfolded, and then I'm not sure if you can see that. So this is my needle that I use. It's my makeshift needle for beading, but I put my string in that little needle eye of the needle there, and then it works great, and it is just fine. And you want to make sure that your beads are dry. I have a little excess green there, so I just wiped it away. And we'll start stringing. Now, one thing I want to note is when you're stringing your beads, you have this piece here, and we're going to tuck that back up into these beads as far as it will go to hide that, so we don't have a little short cut off piece there. Let me grab my rag because some of my beads are still wet. I'll make sure that I'm not getting the other color on my next bead. Okay. I'm going to keep my fingers clean. I should just blow dry these real quick here. Otherwise, I'm going to have a mess. They're still fairly wet. All right, let me grab my blow dryer. Sorry about this. I was hoping they'd be dry, but such as it is. Okay, back to it. We've got our green next, so we're going to go dark green, light green, then white. And at this point, if you wanted to add some maybe polka dots to the beads while they're on the skewers, that would be a good time to do that. You could just use the back of a paintbrush and add some polka dots to those. These cute little wood garlands kind of just add a little pop of some texture to your tiered trays. And they don't have to be super long and wrap around everything. They can just be something short that lays across the top and kind of hangs off the edge. You can have it kind of spilling out of a vase or a cup or a jar, whatever you have on your tiered tray. Now, if your tiered tray has a handle on the top, they're cute, kind of wrapped around the handle as well. And I'm thinking I don't like my tassel. I'm having a hard time liking it, and I thought the cream would go good with these colors instead of using a darker brown. but I think it's clashing with my white beads. So I might have to remake my tassel and go with the darker brown jute, which would go good with my set because I do have a dark brown stain. So we'll see. What do you think? I think it's kind of just clashing with that. The cream and the white don't all go together good. Okay, so I'm gonna just let this sit for a second. They're still kind of wet in some spots. And I'm gonna put together just a brown tassel here using this darker brown jute real quick. And I'll tie it off with a gold or a green string. We'll just keep it simple. But now you know how to add some different ribbons or string to a tassel, if that's what you want to do, or you can just do a solid like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push my string back and I'm going to untie my top here. Since I haven't completely committed to this, I'm able to just kind of pull that off and maybe use that somewhere else. And then I'll add this to my new tassel. Tie it off at the top here, pull it off my board. There we go. And I instantly already like that better. So sometimes it's trial and error. You gotta just try it to see what it's gonna look like, and then sometimes you figure out that that's just not the way it's gonna work, and you gotta do it again. Okay. Let's see. I don't have enough of the gold, but I might have a green piece of ribbon to tie it together. I think I have just enough of this. This will be cute. Okay. So I'm going to place it about an inch down from my tie. I'm going to pull it pretty tight. And because this is the more of like a rickrack, I'm going to just glue this to start it. I'll wrap it a couple times and then glue it again at the end. So I'm holding this right here. I'm going to put a little dab of glue right there. And I'm going to bring this around and try and get it as tight as I can without burning my fingers. And then we'll just keep wrapping and pulling while that glue is setting up. Okay. And then I'm going to glue. Whoops. Let's try that again. And we'll do one last glue. Hold on, I've got just a little piece here I want to cut off before I get too wrapped around there, and I won't be able to find that little bit that was sticking out. Okay. I'm going to put a little dab of glue there. I'm going to leave myself a little handle to pull it tight, and then I'll cut it off. I'll just hold this here. So if you're just joining, we are making a beaded garland and tassel for a St. Patrick's Day tiered tray. Okay. Now that that's set, I can cut off this excess, and I'm going to try and cut it at an angle again just so it looks nice. And there we go. All right, what do you think? I think that looks a lot better with the darker brown as opposed to my white tassel. Like I said, I was hoping to kind of pull in some of that lighter colored string, but it just clashed with my super bright white beads. All right, so then the last couple steps here in this beaded garland, I don't want to keep you too long, is I'm going to give this guy a haircut. So I'm just holding it between my two fingers here, and I'm going to cut the long pieces and get it nice and straight, or as straight as I can. So when it lays, it looks good. And there we go. There's that side. And then we just need to string our little shamrock charm on the other side. I'm going to pull it as tight as I can to the end here and tie it off. I've got this little loop here that I'm trying to get back around to. Let's see, where's my string? There it is. So I'm coming in from the bottom, and I'm going to go through that loop. Now, if you can't get super close to the bead so that the bead is really close to your charm, that's okay. You can just wrap your jute kind of around that little end piece and kind of make it look nice with a little pretty wrap. Okay. And then what you also can do is create a long tail like that. And where's my little needle? My fake needle. I probably lost it. Oh, there it is. It's in my basket. You like the dark better too? Yes. Yeah, I think I was trying to incorporate too many colors too with that when we have this great pattern here. It was clashing. All right, so what I'm going to do to hide this last little tail is I'm going to put it on my needle here, and I'm going to string it through as many of these beads going back up as I can. Now, jute's pretty thick, so I might not even be able to get it through there. No, I'm not gonna. Oh, maybe. Maybe. No, I've lost it. Okay. Depending on the string, you should be able to take this little tail and go right back up here. Go up to the second or third if you can, and then just bend your garland and cut it off there, and it will get lost in this bead and you won't even see it. So I'm just going to pull this super tight. I'll make one more knot in it, and then I'll just cut it off. And if you're worried about it coming undone, you can also add a little bead of glue on your knot, like a super glue will hold it. But if you're using jute, more than likely it's not going to come undone anyways. There we go. All right, there we are. We have a cute little beaded garland for our tier tray. I do have a couple of the white beads that were still kind of wet. I'll touch those up before I put them on. But other than that, that's ready to go. So I hope you give that a try. You can pick up the wood beads on Amazon. And then jute pretty much at any craft store, and they just make a fun little accent piece to your tier tray. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'd be happy to answer. See if I have anything in Facebook. Thanks, Terry. All right, guys. Well, I won't keep you much longer, or I won't keep you any longer, excuse me. But I will be going live tomorrow and decorating the tiered tray with all of the bits that we have in our kit and kind of showing you the tips and tricks I use to decorating a tiered tray. So I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the evening. Bye.